Good morning, sir. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you doing? Good to be with you.
Dude, you have no idea how excited I am to speak with you because I believe in sharing history, and I see you in this book as a historian more than anything else because you have documented something that we have all lived, but you were up close and personal.
Oh, well, thanks. It means a lot to me. I mean, I really felt as a historian, as someone who was trained in history at the University of North Carolina, hey, I thought it was my duty to tell the story, and it's kind of I used to when I was National Security Advisor, I used to really enjoy bringing friends and family to the White House for tours. So, At War with Ourselves is a little bit of a tour of the White House, for readers who I hope will understand better. Hey, what the heck does a National Security Advisor do? What is it like to serve a president, and what is it like to serve President Trump in particular?
Well, sir, I think the title itself describes what's going on in this nation. I believe we're all at war with ourselves because there is so much division in just our families and friendships, and a book like this is going to help pace things back together.
Hey, I hope so. That's what I really hope for. And At War with Ourselves is a theme through the book, and of course, this division, right? This vitriol, and people, allowing partisan politics to infect their relationships and everything. I mean, one of the themes in the book is, hey, that's not only just bad for, our psyches, it's bad for governance, and I hope that this book will help us just, get over it, begin to restore our confidence in our common identity as Americans and restore our confidence in our democratic processes and institutions. Because, if we just began conversations, can you imagine if we just began them with, hey, what can we agree on?
Right.
We could get a heck of a lot done.
Right. You open the book with a dedication for our grandchildren. I'm going to be selfish because I'm going to think that you were thinking about us as well, for my grandchildren as well. It's for as a generation, as a nation. This is for our grandchildren.
Hey, thank you so much for that. I mean, thanks for picking up on that. That's exactly what I meant. And of course, it's meant to allude to our responsibility, to future generations, to take kind of the longer term view. And, for politicians, I think what that means is stop trying to score partisan political points in a way that compromises our principles, but for all Americans, we can't wait for the political class to do that, right? We all have a role in coming together and if there are problems in our nation, hey, let's roll up our sleeves and get to it. One of the things that bothers me about, these kind of postmodernist, critical theories, whatever you want to call them, neo-Marxist theories that have been all the rage on college campuses, and you see the result of that is that, it robs people of agency. It tells them, hey, the system's against you, the whole system, you have to tear down the whole system. No, hey, we can build a better future. And, if you rob young people of agency, what do you leave them with? You leave them with a toxic combination of anger and resignation. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm hoping, readers will get from the book is that, hey, yeah, Donald Trump, he's offensive. Donald Trump is disruptive, but he wasn't always wrong, and there's a lot of Washington that needs to be disrupted. And so I'm hoping that the story will paint a more complex picture than you tend to see like on cable news networks, for example.
I was going to bring up the part, and I want listeners to understand, this is not just it's not a bash Trump book, that you really do put out some positive things in here. This is a step through experience that listeners need to understand. And they, as business leaders and employees, can learn from this because we all have those people that are narcissistic inside their businesses.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was in the Army for 33 years when I got my first assignment in Washington, right? And as National Security Advisor, I'd never even been assigned the Pentagon. But, we all have had difficult bosses, right? And Donald Trump was not an easy boss. Everybody knows that. But I realized it was my job to do the best I could to serve him. But also I was okay with when I was done, I was going to be done. I didn't take the job to get like another job or a promotion. I recognized, and I think this is critical, especially for those who are in government service, right? The job is bigger than any one of us. and so what I hope comes through in the book is that, hey, it's a privilege to serve. There are tremendous rewards of service. I think some people, they're expecting me to complain about, being a national security advisor. Hey, that's a great job. It was a privilege to do it, but I was also at peace with, leaving when I did, because I realized that I wasn't going to be effective with Donald Trump any longer.
You start the book off by getting fired. I mean, is that just calling out the elephant in the room? Let's just get it over with. All right. Okay. I got fired. Blah, blah, blah. Let's get on with the real story here.
Sure. And I use the Donald Trump phrase from The Apprentice. You're fired.
Yes.
Is the title of the chapter.
That's what I was thinking of when I read it. I really did hear his voice.
Hey, but I'm telling you, but actually, I thought a good friend of mine who's a novelist, he's fantastic. His name is Rhodes Fishburne. I recommend reading anything that he writes because he's just such an elegant writer. And I was talking with him about the book, a couple years ago, and I had a lot of angst writing this book. I mean, writing about myself was difficult. Writing about my own experience was difficult. And then also, I deal with personalities and relationship and I want to be fair. Like I had no axe to grind. So that was creating a lot of anxiety. And my friend Rhodes said, hey, you need to just start at the end, right? Put the end at the beginning, and then the reader will be wondering, like, okay, well, why did he get fired? Like, why? How did this happen? And so, not that this is, hey, believe me, I'm not comparing myself to Steinbeck at all. But remember in The Grapes of Wrath when the opening scene when the farm is getting repossessed. And the guy comes out with a shotgun, and says, and the guy's like, hey, don't shoot me. And he goes, well, and then who do I shoot? And then the whole book is about, how that terrible situation developed. So, hey, I that's what I wanted to do was to sort of, have that kind of the end at the beginning. So readers wonder, okay, well, how did he get to that point? And the book is in part just that story, of the evolution of my relationship with President Trump. But really, it's a story more than anything, of how we got a heck of a lot done, in a White House that most people just described as, chaotic. Remember the word chaos was used every other day, every other headline. And despite that chaos, I think we were able to transcend it to a certain extent and help the president put into place some significant and long overdue shifts in U.S. foreign policy and approach to national security.
Those 4 years of chaos put me on a completely different path in the way that I thought, okay, we all have chaos. I'm going to have controlled chaos, and I will be in control, even though it is going to look like it's falling apart. I learned so much from everything that took place. But the thing is, though, is that you were that one player on a chessboard that people were always wanting to attack. Oh, my God, dude, how did you find calm and focus?
Hey, you just got to ignore it, right? I mean, the title's At War with Ourselves. And of course, I'm using the word war metaphorically. But I had been in real wars, with real bullets. And, you realize that there are certain emotions when you're in combat that just aren't useful. Fear is not a useful emotion because you have to overcome fear and act against your enemy. But also, regret's not a useful, self-pity certainly not useful. So for me, it was a focus on the mission, and from a perspective of kind of Stoic philosophy, right? If you focus on what you can control, you can get a lot done. If I couldn't control it, I just tried my best to ignore it.
Yeah. One of the things that it really exposes your heart is right there in the beginning with the notes to the reader. I mean, how long did that take you to write? Because you take both sides of the fence on this and you allow everybody to step inside your pages.
Yeah, I wanted to really be clear about it up front. It took me I think probably 2 minutes to write that because it was after the book was finished. And I thought, what would I want to say to, my friends, my family, before they read this story, and so it's just, a few paragraphs about really why I wrote the book, what the book is, but also what the book is not, right? I mean, it's not a condemnation. It's not a warning. Some people wanted it to be a warning, My editor even, who's a fantastic guy, Sean Desmond, he said, this book needs to be a warning. I said, no, Sean, man, this book is meant to inform, not to warn. And I wanted to maintain that throughout the book. I want readers to make their own judgments, his or her own judgment. I mean, I'm not going to tell, and nobody needs, a washed up general to tell you what to think or how to vote. So I hope that the book, that tenor, that tone carries through the book.
Yeah. Where can people go to find out more about you, sir, and to give you a lot of love because you are a leader in this moment of now?
Well, that's so kind of you. I am privileged to serve at the Hoover Institution I'm a participant on a podcast called the Goodfellows podcast,
Nice.
but also I produce a podcast called Battlegrounds. It's long format interviews with world leaders, and I'm kind of hoping that along with this book, as you alluded to, that I can't thank you enough for this description of it. Everything I do is meant to try to bring Americans together and to help restore our confidence in who we are. And create an environment in which we can work together to build a better future.
Wow. Well, please come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you.
Hey, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
You be brilliant today, okay, sir?
All right. Hey, thanks so much. Take care.